Emperor Gaius Aurelius Valerius Diocletianus, or more commonly known as Diocletian, was the emperor in Rome for just over 20 years, from 284 to 305 Common Era. In his time as emperor, he was able to bring stability, security, as well as an efficient government to Rome after nearly half a century of pure chaos. But this wasn't always the case. Diocletian was originally of low status due to being born in a low-status family in Dalmatia, which is now known as Solin, Croatia. Nevertheless, Diocletian continued to rise through the ranks as a soldier when he eventually became a cavalry commander of the current Emperor Carus's army, which is a big deal. Not too long after he was declared the new emperor of Rome, he began the road of peace to Rome.
Diocletian was first and foremost a soldier, even during his time as a Roman emperor. He made his reforms not only in the Roman military, but also in its financial system, administration, religion, and its architecture as well. Diocletian achieved many things during his time of reign. One of the most significant achievements that Diocletian achieved was named the Tetrarchy, meaning the ruling of four. Diocletian ruled beside his friend and one of his officers, Officer Maximin, who was named co-emperor. Other than Maximin, Diocletian gave power to his son-in-law, and he also gave some power to the husband of his daughter, Galerius. Lastly, the fourth emperor was Flavius Constantinus, a former governor of his homeland, Dalmatia. Diocletian and Maximin even adopted the two later emperors to make this a bond of blood and lineage. They divided the rule of Roman Empire amongst themselves, and the empire flourished. Diocletian was in general control of the east and had a siege at Nicomedia, which is modern Izmir in Turkey.
Diocletian was a very ambitious emperor, wanting to prove himself because of his humble beginnings. Still, there are many historical facts that can be backed up by the fact that he was an intelligent and hard-working emperor. He tried to fortify and protect his borders, so what he did, he double-sized the army, making every son of a soldier inherit his father. He also realized that due to the immense size of the empire, he couldn't control the provinces and taxes, so he established an autocratic structure which increased the number of bureaucrats, doubled the number of provinces, and had all local officials report directly to Rome. He also changed the tax policy of the empire by emphasizing the liability of taxpayers and making all taxes information public. He was the first ruler to create a state budget based on tax revenue. Diocletian's tax system and administration last even today, with modifications, of course. He enforced a rule that coins could only be gold or silver, not lead. He even established a state religion, which is still common to today, but we will get to that later. But all these achievements listed can prove that Diocletian was an amazing leader for Rome.
On February 24th, 303 CE, Diocletian ordered the publication of his first edict against the Christians. This edict ordered the destruction of Christian sculptures and places of worship across the empire and prohibited Christians from assembling for worship. This was just the beginning of the Diocletianic persecution, which extended from 303 to 311 CE. The Roman Empire's last, largest, and bloodiest official persecution of Christianity. He thought Christians were disloyal, disrupted social unity, and displeased the gods. Diocletian soon began the great persecution against Christians, stripped them of their rights, and burned their scriptures and churches before enslaving, torturing, and murdering thousands. It was the most determined, long-lasting, and sophisticated persecution in Roman history. However, Christianity was still a presence in Rome and survived once again.
In a quote by Eusebius Church History says, It was the 19th year of Diocletian's reign, 303 CE, in the month Distris, called March by the Romans, and the festival of Savior's Passion was approaching, when an imperial decree was published everywhere, ordering churches to be razed to the ground and the scriptures destroyed by the fire, and giving notice that those in places of honor would lose their places in domestic staff. If they continued to profess Christianity, they would be deprived of their liberty. Such was the first edict against us. Soon afterwards, other decrees arrived in the rapid succession, ordering that the presence of the church in every place should all be the first committed to prison and then coerced by every possible means into offering and sacrifice. This is a quote from the first chapter of Eusebius' Church History. In it, he describes the persecution of Christians under Emperor Diocletian. The persecution began in 303 CE and lasted until 311 CE. It was the last and most severe persecutions of Christians in the Roman Empire. However, Christianity prevailed and was one of the many factors that contributed to the fall of the Roman Empire. Christianity, the monotheistic religion, ran counter to the traditional Roman religion, which was polytheistic, which means to believe in many gods. At different times, the Romans persecuted the Christians because of their beliefs, which were popular among the poor. In 313 CE, Roman Emperor Constantine the Great ended all persecution and declared toleration for Christianity. Later that century, Christianity became the official state religion of the empire. This drastic policy change spread relatively new religion to every corner of the empire. By approving Christianity, the Roman state directly undermined its religious traditions. Finally, by this time, Romans considered their emperor a god, but the Christian belief in one God who is not the emperor weakened the authority and credibility of the emperor. Constantine enacted another change after this that helped accelerate the fall of the Roman Empire. In 330 CE, he split the empire into two parts, the western half centered in Rome and the eastern half centered in Constantinople, a city named after himself.
The persecution of Christians is a vital topic of the Church of today because it serves a reminder of the price that Christians have had to pay for their faith. It also serves as a reminder of how crucial it is to stick up for one's convictions in the face of opposition, that Christians are not exempt from suffering or persecution, and that the Church today faces many obstacles that we must be ready to meet them head-on with courage and faith. Many Christians were willing to give up everything to pursue the way of God. Many of them would be killed, tortured, and more, but they're ready to take on anything that was thrown at them because of how much faith they had in God. This persecution demonstrated the resilience of the early church and its capacity for expansion, setting up for a great future within the church. The persecution of Christians is significant when relating it to today's church, because if Diocletian did really succeed in his plan to persecute the Christians, our lives would have changed dramatically. We wouldn't even be taking this course about religion, Christianity. We would be taking a whole new one. Our daily lives would have been affected as well. If you just think about how much religion has an impact on your life, you can start to see how different you can be living your life. If you have jewelry, let's say, like a cross necklace, it would be different because of the cross. The cross represents Christianity. The church will be different, and Christmas may not even be celebrated anymore.
All in all, Diocletian was a very significant figure in the history of the Roman Empire. He was responsible for many reforms that helped stabilize the empire and brought about a period of prosperity. He is also remembered for the atrocious persecution of Christians, which was a major event in the history of the church.